Have you ever looked at a ridiculously high electricity bill and wondered, did I accidentally start a secret business while I was sleeping? That was me just standing in my kitchen in my socks and a worn-out bathrobe, staring at the bill like it was a personal attack. At first, I thought maybe I'd left the space heater on for weeks or that my water heater was secretly running a spa on the side. But nope, the real culprit was something much more unexpected: a shiny golf cart and a woman named Rita. Now, I had retired a while ago, moved to a peaceful neighborhood in Willow Creek, hoping to spend my days crafting birdhouses and disconnecting from the noise of the world. I had worked for 25 years as a systems technician for a security company, so I'm all about logic, precision, and a little bit of overthinking. I bought the house with cash, made some improvements, set up solar panels, smart meters, the whole works. My electric consumption was minimal, so when that absurd bill arrived, it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like something was up. This was all thanks to Rita, the HOA president of the Oak Ridge Estates. She greeted me on the first day I moved in, handed me a packet that looked more like a legal document than a welcoming guide. The rules were intense. Lawns must be exactly 4 inches, no unapproved flags, trash bins in by 6 p.m., and no changes to outdoor utilities, whatever that meant. I smiled politely, hoping she'd leave me alone. She didn't. Within 2 weeks, I had already been cited 3 times. Once for my garage trim being a shade off-white. Another time because I left my garbage cans out past 6 p.m. And, get this, she even filed a complaint about me playing rock music while mowing the lawn. Apparently, my rendition of Sweet Home Alabama was a crime against nature. But I kept the peace until that bill showed up. Now, I'm meticulous about my energy use. I monitor everything. My peak usage never exceeds 4 kilowatts per hour. But this bill claimed I was using triple that, like I was running a sauna in the attic. So I started digging. I pulled up the smart meter logs, and sure enough, I saw huge spikes between 2 and 4 a.m. every day. And it all traced back to my detached garage, which I hadn't even stepped into in weeks. Naturally, I thought the wiring was faulty or that an old appliance was malfunctioning. Then I remembered when I moved in, I had installed a security camera in the garage. So I checked the footage, and there she was, Rita, in her bathrobe, slippers, and curlers, sneaking into my backyard at 2:13 a.m. like some kind of nighttime vigilante. She opened the garage door, rolled out a long extension cord, plugged it into my outlet, and connected it to her golf cart. Now, this wasn't just any golf cart. It was a sleek, white vehicle with gold accents and leather seats, topped off with a custom plate that read HOA1. Of course it did. Rita even muttered, "Nothing beats free power," before strolling back to her house like she had just done nothing wrong. The next morning, I confronted her while she was watering her garden. I said, "Good morning, Rita. Fun night last night." She gave me a confused look. I went on, "I have a video showing someone wearing your exact bathrobe plugging into my outlet. Does that ring any bells?" For a split second, she froze, then snapped back. "That's not your outlet. It's community property. It's a shared resource." She raised her chin, looking like she owned the place. "Maybe if you weren't so stingy with your electricity, people wouldn't need to get creative." I smiled, staying calm, and said, "Right. Thanks for clearing that up." An hour later, I got an email from the HOA accusing me of harassment. According to Rita, I had threatened her and made her feel unsafe on her own property. The letter said I should not contact her again unless another board member was present. Classic move: accuse someone else before they accuse you. But Rita didn't realize one thing. I may be quiet, but I've spent years setting up top-tier surveillance systems. So that night, I got to work. I built a custom smart timer system, a Raspberry Pi, relay switches, and a decoy voltage tester, designed to cut the power exactly 3 seconds after it was plugged in and not reset for 2 hours. When Rita plugged in her golf cart, it would look like it was charging, but in reality, it would be getting nothing. I set it up in the outlet behind the garage, disguised it like a normal surge protector, and added an LED light to make it look legit. That night, I waited. At 2:17 a.m., I got the alert. Rita was back. She plugged in her cart, the charging light blinked on, and she smirked, patting her cart like it was her personal chariot. 3 seconds later, the light blinked off. The next morning, Rita tried to start the cart, but it was dead. She frowned, tried again, but it still wouldn't work. She got a handyman to come over, and they tested the outlet. It worked fine for his tools, but her cart? Still dead. Rita shot a glare at my house, then stormed off. The next few days were like watching a slow-motion meltdown. Rita showed up with a clipboard and an inspector from the HOA. This guy named Carl, who looked like had just left a 1980s office party. They inspected the garage like they were detectives. Rita pointed at my house with fury in her eyes. Later that day, I got another email from the HOA accusing me of tampering with shared utilities and threatening me with a fine unless I removed unauthorized equipment. I laughed. I sent everything, the email chain and footage, to my lawyer, Trent. He called me back and said, "Dude, this HOA is a petty dictatorship. You need to go full-on mastermind." So I did. I upgraded the timer. Now, I could control it from my phone. I also programmed the cart's charging light to show it was charging, but it wasn't drawing any power at all. When Rita tried to use the cart, it would go a few blocks, then die. I watched her struggle to push it back home one day, cursing under her breath. On another day, she tried to present a blurry photo at the HOA meeting as proof of a voltage drop, but everyone just laughed at her. Then came her final attempt. One night at 2:30 a.m., Rita came with gloves, bolt cutters, and a flashlight, trying to sabotage my power panel. What she didn't know was that the panel was a fake, just a decoy I had set up during renovations. It sparked, sure, but didn't affect anything. The real power was untouched. I caught it all on camera, and by noon the next day, Rita had a restraining order. 2 days later, the HOA started a full audit. It turned out Rita had been making changes to the rules without any votes and fining people for ridiculous things, like their lawn ornaments or wind chimes. The board voted her out in a landslide, refunded the fines, and passed a new bylaw allowing residents to recall board members. They even called it the Rita Clause. 3 months later, Rita's golf cart is still parked in her driveway. Flat tires, cobwebs, and a lawn that looks like it's seen better days. No one's touched it since. As for me, I was asked to help digitize the new HOA bylaws and even taught Carl how to use Google Sheets. He still double-clicks everything like he's afraid it'll break the internet. Every now and then, I'll walk past the old garage, glance at the outlet, and grin. It's still rigged, just in case. There's even a little sign now. Charging station, 3 seconds of justice. Now, let me ask you, if someone kept taking from you night after night and got away with it just because they made the rules, what would you do? Would you play along? Or would you find a way to rewrite the system? As I look back on the whole ordeal, I can't help but smile at how a simple act of defiance turned the tables on an entire HOA empire. Rita thought she could take advantage of me, bending the rules to suit her own needs. But in the end, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about standing up for what's right. She underestimated the quiet retiree who had a bit more up his sleeve than she could imagine. It's funny how power can shift so quickly when the system isn't as bulletproof as it seems. One person with a little creativity, patience, and knowledge of the right tools can turn the tables and bring down even the most controlling of regimes. In the end, Rita didn't just lose her golf cart. She lost the trust of her entire community. We all have our breaking points, but the key is knowing when to play the game and when to rewrite the rules entirely. Sometimes a few seconds of clever thinking is all it takes to change everything. So what would you do? Would you let someone walk all over you? Or would you find a way to take back control? Drop a comment. Let's talk about how you'd handle your own run-ins with power-hungry neighbors or unfair systems.